If I ask you these 3 questions right now and you do not know how to answer these, guess what? You're not leading a sales organization, you are actually rolling the dice. So let me ask you these 3 questions, and before you run off anywhere else, see if you can answer these questions. The first question is, what is your show up rate of your team right now? Overall, what is the show up rate? The second question is, what is the closing rate of your team right now? And the third question is, how long is your sales cycle in your organization? Now, if you could not answer those questions at the top of your head, again, you are not leading a sales organization, you are rolling the dice. And we need to get hyper specific on these couple of KPIs, which in my opinion is the most important KPIs in sales. And in this specific video, I'm gonna give you 5 core sales KPIs that actually move the needle and how to use them to scale faster, plug leaks, and hold reps accountable. Now trust me, I am all for showing you the most important KPIs because in the past, in my business, as well as I'm sure in your partnerships and in your businesses as well, we have a tendency as entrepreneurs to overcomplicate things. Now, let me tell you, the older I've gotten, the more I have abided to the specific simple term that says simplicity scales, SS. Simplicity scales. The more simple you can keep certain flows, softwares, KPIs, tracking, metrics, and so on and so forth, the easier it is going to be to scale. So in this video, I'm going to provide you with the 5 sales KPIs that I think are the most important that you should be tracking. So let's hop right into the sheet so I can show you what I'm talking about. So the first one, it goes without saying, is your show up rate, okay? Which is what percentage of book calls actually show up to the call, okay? All of us know this. This is a metric that we all should be tracking, and most entrepreneurs are tracking. So I'm going to speed through this in the sake that you probably already know this. Well, a benchmark for show up rate should be around 70% for inbound or 50 to 60% for cold traffic, okay? Now, there are certain ways and metrics and certain things we can do to increase that show up rate, right? A very, very good way is having a setter call all your leads before they book, okay? Now, one thing that I would state is that if you do have a 70% show up rate for inbound from, let's just say, your VSL funnel and VSL call funnel, which most of you watching this do have that structure, don't touch it, right? Do not touch what's working. If you do have a 70% show up rate through your automatic reminders and without setters dialing them, do not have a setter dial in. However, if you are below a 70% show up rate and you're already sending automatic reminders and so on and so forth, have your setters dial everybody before a call. Why? Not only is your setters going to increase the show up rate, but what you will notice as well over time, and what I have noticed in our businesses, is that the leads that come from setters, the closers actually have a higher closing percentage with those specific leads. Why? Because the setter has already explained maybe a little couple things, they built rapport, and the leads that are finally set on the closers' calendars should be higher quality, okay? Now again, some red flags there is that if your setter is booking, or has, a show up rate of anywhere under, I would even say for warm traffic, 60%, that is a red flag, okay? Very, very red flag. Your show up rate for setter should be anywhere for inbound leads should be around that 70%, okay? Now, again, how to fix low show up rates, there's a lot of tricks that I'm gonna show you guys in later videos to increase that show up rate. One that I'd recommend right now, and I'm sure you guys are all doing these SMS reminders, and quickly, a quick topic on that. If you are using SMS reminders, guys, so important. Think outside the box, or alternatively, just listen to what I'm saying and just go implement it because I've tested these, okay? For SMS reminders, do not send the generic reminders, okay? And if you are, and you cannot get creative around it, I'll create a whole nother video on how to increase your show up rate. But a quick reminder here. If you are sending SMS reminders and you cannot get super creative with your messaging to increase the show up rate, which I'll show you in another video how to do, a simple trick is this. Send your email reminders, your SMS reminders from one text message. Then from another text line, text the same lead, right? Generally use a female's name, such as, Olivia or whatever you want to use, Betty, right? Mary, whatever you want it to be. And just text the same lead saying, let's just say the lead's name is Beth. Hey Beth, Betty here. Just wanted to make sure that you got our text reminders from our automated line. Question mark. Now they know, okay, everybody knows what an automated text looks like. But if I send them another text from a different line asking them, hey, did you receive the automated text messages? They know now that this specific line, the second line I texted them from, is not automated, even though it is, okay? That's a little tip that you can increase your show up rate. Another quick show up rate tip that I would highly recommend here, guys, is get your setters iPhones, okay? I get it, you can't track a lot of the things, but what do you really give a shit about, right? It's how many people are set on the calendar and how many people are closed and what is the cash collected. Do you really care about listening to every sales or every call that the setter has? At the end of the day, setters should be compensated on their KPIs and they should be held accountable according to their KPIs. If they don't meet KPIs, they're out. Okay, so again, one way to fix it is that 2-line approach that I told you, the 2-text line. Another approach is have your setters actually send a video with an iPhone to the actual prospect, right, before they actually hop on a call, right, introducing themselves. It just gives that personal touch, guys. People in this day and age, you have to think outside the box. You cannot do what the 99% do and expect the 1% results. You have to do what the 1% does to get the 1% rules, okay? Or results, excuse me. Now, one trick that I just mentioned is have your setters text them via Blue Bubble, or alternatively also just send them a video once they opt in within 5 minutes, introducing who you are, mentioning their name, to make sure that they know that, hey, this company and organization actually cares about me. I'm not just another number, okay? That is super, super, super important, okay? Again, low show up rates could be because of bad lead nurture, okay? That might be on the closer side or the setter side, or alternatively the automated text and emails that go out. It might be due to lazy follow-up, or alternatively overbooking low intent leads, right? If a lead doesn't show up to the call, there's a reason they didn't show up, okay? Maybe life got ahead of them and this does happen, you can rebook them. But if they don't show up for the second time, do not try and rebook that person, okay? They're just wasting your calendar space and wasting your closers and setters time, okay? And ultimately it's gonna hurt your show up rate stats, okay? Now, let's move on to the second part, which is the close rate, okay? Now, all of us knows what the close rate is. How many calls turn into cash? Super simple. Again, I'm gonna speed through this real quick here. The benchmark, right? Again, this varies greatly by industry, by price tag, but I would say a good benchmark for most of you watching this should be 20 to 30% of live calls for high ticket inbound specifically, okay? Which means, you know, you can't expect to have, you know, a 30% close rate if your offer is 100K and you're going up or comparing yourself to another business that might have, you know, a 5K offer, right? But they might have, you know, 50% close rate, right? The higher the ticket price is, generally the lower your actual conversions are going to be, or your close rate's going to be, okay? Unless marketing does an excellent job in educating the user, because again, if you're talking about a price point of 50K and above and you're selling it over the internet, which I have done plenty of times. I've closed 8 figures over the internet within my previous business by, you know, having just calls online, not even meeting anybody in person. There's a lot of trust that needs to be established when somebody's giving you $50,000 plus over the internet, okay? So again, this comes down to just a benchmark here is 20 to 30% of live calls could be expected, right? If you have anywhere an offer from, I would say generally about $5,000 all the way to $25,000, you can expect to be in this range of live calls, okay? And again, this is tracked on shows, not bookings, okay? Because the closer, they don't have any control over the show rate for the most part, right? If you have your closers engage with the prospects before the call happens, right? Which sometimes I do, specifically for the inbound leads that are coming through the VSL funnel. We don't want to set them straight on a setter call, right? Or a triage call. We want to send them straight to the closers and have those closers build rapport prior to that call. In that case, right, they have an impact on the show up rate. But again, we want to track their KPIs, the closers' KPIs on showed calls, okay? Because again, a low close rate does indicate a skill issue. This is not a traffic issue, okay? And we'll get into later in this video on how to basically evaluate the two, if it's a traffic issue or a skill issue. This all has to do with a show up rate as well, okay? Just a little reminder here that good reps close consistently, okay? Great ones close creatively, even when the prospects are not ideal, okay? Closers close. Salespeople are glorified order takers. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, if you are sitting there and you're looking for, elite setters or closers to be plugged into your organization, but you don't know where to find them, that's exactly what we do here at Sales Match. So if you're interested in having us find salespeople on your behalf, click the link below, book a free consultation call. Let's see how we can work together and we'll take it from there. But right now, let's get back to the video. Okay, super important. Now let's get into the next KPI here that you should track, which in my opinion is the most important and the most overlooked KPI in this world, is the sales cycle. And this justifies a whole nother video. I'm gonna create an entire video where I've run the math several times. Sales cycle beats the close rate any day of the week. Sales cycle is so important, right? And just to give you a little hint here, if you have one closer whose sales cycle is 14 days, right? And the other closer's sales cycle is, 30 days. Well, guess what? The person with a sales cycle of 14 days versus 30 days is going to close almost double as many deals on a yearly basis, okay? If they have the exact same close rate. If all else remains the same and one closer has, close rate of 14 days versus, another one with 30 days, the one with 14 days is going to close double as much clients, okay? Or prospects within a yearly and annualized basis, okay? It's so important because a lot of people will be like, okay, what is the close rate? What is your close rate? Let's keep the closers accountable on the close rate. No, keep them accountable on two things, the close rate and the sales cycle. That is so freaking important, because what you'll realize is that people with a longer sales cycle, they want to build more rapport. They're more on the sales people side than on the closer side. And I've had this plenty of times where I've had this exact example that I gave you. We had one closer with a 14-day close or sales cycle. We had another closer that had a 30-day sales cycle. Same product, same offer, same price, same everything, right? Why? Because the person that was closing in 30 days was a glorified sales order taker, and they didn't know how to ask for the close. They didn't know how to set expectations, okay? And this goes down to what we talked about, what I jotted down here. You have to, as a closer, always, keep the prospect accountable to a timeline, right? And the way to do this is to simply ask them. You always just ask them. Don't be afraid to ask, right? If you don't ask, you're not going to get answers, okay? So a way to ask for this is, let's just say the lead's name is Betty. Betty, can we agree to decide by June 12th that, we can make a decision here so you're not stuck in limbo, okay? Set a date. Right. I'll do this from the very first call. Can we agree on a specific date where we can get this across the line, or shake hands as friends and move on? Okay? Because again, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste their time. And by doing that, you're putting yourself in the driver's seat and you're leading the conversation, which is very important. Okay? So again, a benchmark here is under 14 days for inbound, more than 30 days for cold traffic. Again, guys, this is, all of you watching this has different offers, different price tags, different everything. This is just a benchmark that you could work off of, okay? Again, if your sales cycle is too long, your closer is not setting urgency, or you just have a salesperson and not a closer. Okay, they don't know how to ask for the close. They don't know how to keep people accountable to show up to the calls, to show up to the follow-ups. Okay, very important. Now, again, a fix here to fix the sales cycle is to simply ask them, right? Ask the prospect you're talking with for a timeline, right? Or set the timeline so they can both be accountable and you can keep yourself and them accountable as well. And some fix here is reframe timeline objections. If somebody says, oh, I need to think about it, okay? Betty, always acknowledge, mirror. Betty, completely understand you want to think about it. I would want to think about it too, since this is a big decision. Just so we can keep on a time frame here, Betty, is it okay that, in 3 days from now, we can reconvene and that decision will be made? Would that give you enough time to think about this and to get everything over? Okay, if they say yes, okay, great. Now you isolate the objection and you try to crush it right there and then, okay? So, Betty, just so that I can be on the same page as you, what are you not sure about? That is my favorite line when somebody says, oh, I need to think about it. Okay, what are you unsure about, right? Because it gets right to the point. You're not asking them, hey, are you unsure about something? No, you assume that they're unsure about something and you ask them directly, what are you unsure about? Okay, that's another little trick there that you can use to decrease your sales cycle. Now, the other KPI that we got to talk about here is your actual schedule to close percentage. Okay, out of how many book calls, out of the total book calls, how many of those clients how many of those calls became clients? And why is this important? Well, it tells you the efficiency of the total funnel, right? So it tells you from start A to point B, how efficient is this cycle or the funnel, excuse me. If your booking rate is high, but your close rate is low, that is a quality problem, okay? That means, the quality of the prospects that you're booking it's shit. There's no other way to say it, right? If your booking rate is high, but your close rate is super low and you're seeing a dip in the close rate and it's not on the closing side or the closer side, it's a quality problem. That's on the marketing side, okay? But now on the opposite side of the spectrum, if your booking rate is low, but your close rate is high, then that's a lead flow issue. Your closers need more leads to talk with. That's a marketing side or marketing problem, okay? Now, again, what if your booking rate is good and your close rate is high? Well, 9 times out of 10, correct this spelling mistake, 9 times out of 10, your prices are too low. Jack your prices, because if you're getting enough leads and your close rate is high, jack your prices. That would fix so many problems in your business, and so many problems that entrepreneurs and businesses do have can be solved by just increasing the price of your product or service. Super easy, okay? Now again, the 5th KPI that we need to be tracking here goes without saying, cash collected, okay? This is the number that actually matters most, is how much money we're actually bringing into the organization, okay? Because not only are you paying reps on cash collected, but cash is what drives your business. This is the number 1 KPI you should be looking out for, okay? And if a rep's closing but not collecting cash, well, that is a problem, right? Because they do not know how to follow up potentially. They do not know how to ask for the cash, right? So that is why setting expectations on the call and the sales call is so important, right? Option A or option B, Jim, if you're talking to Jim as a prospect. Option A is pay in full today for $12,000. Option B is pay over 90 days, and that's going to be $5,000 a month, right? Which would you prefer? Okay, set the expectations right from the beginning. Now, if a rep is collecting less than $5,000 a week, you better have a volume or a low ticket logic. Okay, that's just a side note there. Okay, your pricing might be wrong, or your volume might be outdated. So it might be a marketing issue, right? Or specifically a back end issue. Okay. Now again, your best reps concentrate on driving revenue, not pipeline bullshit and pipeline fluff, okay? Oh, I've got this much in the pipeline. Oh, I've got this much on the line. I don't give a shit. How much was collected? That is what's important, okay? Now, again, KPIs are useless. I mean useless without accountability. You have to keep your reps accountable. Nothing will destroy a team's culture, especially a sales team culture, than you tolerating mediocrity or tolerating underperformers. That will kill your top guys, performance. And honestly, what I've seen happen before as well, it would just kill the respect that closer has for you. And the moment they lose respect for you, it's a slippery slope, guys. So again, numbers don't lie, and numbers don't matter if no one owns them or keeps them accountable to it, okay? You have to have weekly KPI reviews. You have to talk about these things all the time, okay? And again, if that's you, your sales manager, it doesn't matter, but somebody needs to keep your closers accountable, okay? And you need to use these numbers to coach reps, fire fast, spot trends, and assign leads to closers who can actually close. This is also one thing, and I'll leave you guys with this in this specific video, but Reward your top closers. Okay, this is one thing that I did wrong and completely had wrong in the past, where I would just have round robin. Everybody gets each other's leads. Okay, so let's just say our top lead source is YouTube. Okay, our second lead source is Facebook. If we know that the leads coming from YouTube are, have a 80% show up rate and the leads from Facebook has a 60% show up rate, guess who I'm giving the better leads to? Our top closer. Why? Because they deserve to be there in the first place, right? It's like a team. You don't just come in and automatically come into the team and stomp your way around and deserve the best leads. No, you have to work your way up in every organization. And including here at Sales Match, whoever has the highest closing percentage is going to get the very best leads. Simple. You want the best leads? Work your ass off and prove to me that you can actually handle the top leads and you deserve the top leads. And little hint there, I would recommend implementing that in your sales organization as well. Well, guys, that's it for this video. Really hope that